We now look at the sources of solid waste. For domestic or residential, normally we have apartments, houses, townhouses, and then for municipal services, coming from street, public places, and also playground. For commercial, example, offices, shops, malls, warehouse, hotels, airports. So those coming from commercial. And institutional, for example, schools, hospitals, prisons, government offices. Next is industrial, which is non-processed waste. For example, for packaging and also food industry. And then for industrial, that processed waste coming from the industrial processes. And agriculturals coming from farms, orchards, and feedlots. Construction, for example, renovation, housing project, and house repairing. And lastly, treatment, plant site. Okay, so for example, the water and also the wastewater. This is sources of solid waste. And look at the waste characterization. That can be divided into three. The physical, by looking at physical characterization, you can define the specific weight of the waste, the moisture content, the particle size distribution, fuel capacity, permeability, and also density. For chemical characterization, for certain solid waste, we can determine the energy content, the ultimate analysis, and also proximate analysis. And lastly, we can look at the biological characterization. We can determine the volatile, solid, lignin content, biodegradable fraction, and also odors. For physical properties, as I mentioned before, we can determine the moisture content, the specific weight. Okay, so in order to determine the moisture content, later we will look at example 10.1 for moisture, and then example 10.2 for determination of the density. Okay, for example, if we have a dump of solid waste, so we can determine the density and also the moisture content. For chemical properties, later we will look at example 10.3, where example 10.3 will determine the energy content, and example 10.4, we can estimate the chemical composition of certain solid waste. And lastly, for biological properties, we can determine the volatile solids and also lignin, which is the polymeric material containing aromatic rings that present in some paper products such as newsprint and also fiberboard. And also the biodegradable fraction for some of the organic compounds based on the lignin content. And also odors typically result from anaerobic decomposition, for example, sulfate and also certain organic compounds.